The Genuine Article. Discussion and commentary based on articles from JACC.
Hello, I'm Dr. Tony DeMaria, the editor of JACC, here with Inside JACC, and here I'm talking to Dr. Randall Starling, and he's the Vice Chairman of Cardiovascular Medicine at the Cleveland Clinic. And Randy's just published, or about to publish, a really interesting article that deals with LVADs in patients with advanced degrees of heart failure. And in this particular paper, this is a registry from the MACC database that deals with the real-life application of the HeartMate 2 LVAD in patients with advanced heart disease, comparing it to other comparable devices. And what they show in this study is that, in fact, the results with the HeartMate 2 continue to be very excellent, continue to reflect those of the randomized controlled trial, even though the patients in the comparable group were a little bit sicker. So, Randy, let me ask you, what is the major advance in the HeartMate 2 over other LVADs?
Well, the major advance, Dr. DeMaria, I believe reflects upon its size, which is much smaller, its quiet, and its durability. The device that it replaced, essentially the HeartMate XVE by the same manufacturer, was larger, louder, and perhaps good for 18 to 24 months. This device beats it on all of those aspects, and we think from the standpoint of its battery life, it's going to be good for 4 to 5 years and perhaps even much longer than that.
Now, this was a real-world study. As I recall, the operative mortality went down and the benefits went up over the course of the study. Is that correct?
Essentially, that is correct. The improvement in quality of life has been demonstrated in all the studies with the HeartMate 2. This study started by looking at the original trial that was done in 133 patients reported in the New England Journal, and has shown that the 30-day mortality rate has dropped from approximately 11% to now about 4% in this report that is coming out soon in JACC.
Now, can we conclude from your registry that the HeartMate 2 is really better? One of the problems is that in the comp group, they were just a sicker group of individuals.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think we'll leave it to the prior randomized clinical trials that clearly showed an incremental improvement with the HeartMate 2 versus the HeartMate XVE. But in compliance with the FDA, they stipulated a post-market approval study. And I think that their main intent was to see if the results from a clinical trial could be translated to actual clinical practice. So now in 70 some odd sites outside of a clinical trial, everybody's quite excited to see that the results are as good or even continuing to improve with the HeartMate 2.
And that's really an important step, because we all know that clinical trials are very restricted and homogeneous. So now, given your experience, Randy, are we moving to the implantation of LVADs at an earlier stage?
I really think that's the way of the future. I think that all the data that we have now says that, quote unquote, less ill patients will have lower mortality rates and improve. And in fact, the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute has recently funded a major clinical trial that is in the development stages that will look at one of the newer generation continuous flow pumps in a less ill patient population that's not on inotropes, specifically to answer that question that you just raised.
Well, the world of LVADs is rapidly evolving, and they're playing an increasingly important role in heart failure. For Inside JACC, I'm Tony DeMaria.